And we'll take that right there. That's close enough. So not bad on the first one. Not bad on the first one. Could have been a little bit better. Reset quantities. Reset quantities. All right. Okay, so next place we'll be looking for that retest of PR +1, but we'll be looking, since this is the first time really trading above. We're not gonna be too aggressive on this first one. Let's see what it does. We wanted to retest and confirm that we're bullish. Now that was only the, I'm just curious. Okay. So the 1-for-1 method is not that great. I'm about to hit them up and be like, hey. Yeah, let me get that other one. Right, so at this point, we're just watching and seeing how we're responding to our volume levels. This is the volume level right here, which we are seeing a buy response. We are seeing a response. Yeah, it did go up a little bit, so we can call it a buy response. Looking at my other signals, I haven't really had much of anything. You did have a sell response right there after 938. We're making our way back down, finding some buyers off of PR to low, as we can a little bit of front run of volume. Seeing some significant volume building at 900. And right now I'm mostly looking at volume, as you can hear by what I'm saying. Some nice chop back and forth. Back to the PR low. Continuing the sell off back to our PR -1. Ooh, let me check my quantities, because we're more than likely going to be buyers off of PR -1 if we get down there. Now, really, it should have been 870. So let's see what happens at 870. We already touched it. And I may be a viewer at PR -1. Just looking at the volume there. We got the VWAP below us at 840. Also got, it's one of my indicators at 820. It serves as a pretty decent vacuum. So we're starting to see price slow down here at 870. There's a push outside of that PR -1 that printed for a continuation down to 850, where we got volume and some indicators. Now I could actually look to be going short there, but I kind of extended, so I want to wait. I really do want a better setup than that. I feel like we're at the end of a move before we start positioning for the next move, but I could be wrong. We did find some buyers down there, 850. Not surprising at all. Pushing back to 850. Now we'll really be looking at the break of 850. And if I was a trader in that, I would be getting out at around 825. Between 830 and 825. But like I said, I do want I want to see some wholesale show up before I get in. Doesn't mean anything in terms of what price can do. So there's the break. Now we should see this go down to 830, between 830 and 825. And there's 830, between 830 and 25, 825, 824, 23. went down to PR -2, and now we're getting a response. We're continuing to push, or make an attempt to push. Now this should be a rebalance zone, and this is when I'm gonna start calling this the rebalance zone. So somewhere in here we should find some buyers eventually. Now if we don't, this should be telling. So what happens here within the next few minutes should be very telling of what kind of market, what kind of energy they're gonna be on today. All right, so what the ranges I'm looking at is between PR -1 and PR -2, and let's see how they play in this range. This is the yellow and the orange lines, to be more specific for the recording. We are now in rebalance. So from now on, I'm just going to identify this as rebalance. I'm just going to label this simply as rebalance. We're starting to get a lot of participation showing up here, and we're still trying to make a push down. That is a signal for continued selling. Now, honestly, in all this, if I'm being honest with myself, I should actually be participating in all of this. I'm supposed to be more aggressive with this strategy, but I'm being just to keep it all the way 1,000. I want to see something different, so I'm being stubborn in what I want to see versus what the market is doing. And usually, it pays more to just being honest. It usually pays more to just go or be in more of a flow state with the market. Now, of course, that comes after a lot of experience and development of the strategies and all that stuff. Because being in a flow state when you don't have or without a lot of experience, let's just stick to experience and consistency. Experience and consistency. The strategies and all of that stuff, it is what it is. As long as you have a strategy, that's all that matters. All strategies work, just not all the time. So really the most important thing there is the consistency and the experience. So being in flow, attempting to be in flow with the market without much experience and without consistency, which is more important actually than the experience, can actually be detrimental, is what I'm saying. So at my point, I should really be more in flow with the market, because I'm just, especially with NQ, I'm just familiar with how it moves. And, I've already built systems and everything around most of what happens on a normal basis. And, when things don't go the way that I would like it to go, I've actually developed systems to where I can not lose my shirt. I may not make money in it, but I'm not going to have a major loss if I do what I'm supposed to do. If I have the right discipline and I'm trading it the way that I'm supposed to be trading it. All right, so we are seeing some rebalance here, and so wholesale is starting to show up. I'm now recognizing wholesale. Now, just because I'm going to call out these ranges doesn't mean that price has to do anything with this range, but I am looking at 830 to 800 for right now. But we are continuing to slowly trade lower or find value lower. But we shall see it, how thou progresseth from here. So now back to 800, getting a buy response, but we are trying to push lower. If we do push lower, I'll be looking at PR -2 or PR -3. We've already below PR -2. I'll be looking at PR -3, which is the blue line. But we're starting to trade back inside of wholesale. Now looking again at 830. We do got a lot of volume. We did have a lot of participation there in our rebalance level. And let's see, so we're getting a sell response there. This is our supply. Supply response. Now what would be beautiful if we trade back below PR -2. That'll give us a nice little area to see about doing some things. I don't want to be impatient. Let me just be patient here. Trigger finger getting itchy. That didn't give me a lot of room to play in right there, but let's go ahead and set this up. Back to supply. I'm really only looking to go back to inventory. I could have been more aggressive in supply, but we'll see what happens. Only targeting inventory here. That's all I'm doing on this one. I want to trade with. And I'm saying this out loud actually as a reminder to myself. You know what I'm saying? But I am ready for the opposite side of that as well. This is building the case. Got to go back into that. All right. And there we go. Okay. So that didn't quite work out the way that I would have liked it to, but you know, got to get what you can get on it. Reset the quantities. All right. Here we go. And see, now I was expecting that, you know, that worked out. Actually played out beautifully. All right, so we're gonna be back inside the neutral zone. We're gonna be hands off. Now I'm looking again at PR +1. I actually like this music that's in my ear right now. I wish it, you know, they didn't have all these copyright things. I can just, this is actually going really well with, you know, but I can put my own music on top of this if I, you know, for the post up. Back inside, we're gonna hit in the. So we got a lot of noise inside of our neutral zone, which is even more reasons to just be hands off inside the neutral zone. But we do have some areas of interest inside the neutral zone, right above PR 50 at 911, and then at the PR high. So let's see. I'll be looking at PR 50 as well, just at the technical level. There we go, 911. Saw some quick sell participation there. Let's see if we get what kind of reaction we get from that. Oh, we're starting to get major participation jump in here around 900. A lot of participation at 900. Let's see where they take us. 50% of that last little sale rally that we had inside of the neutral zone. So I'm not really surprised by this right now. And this has been the story pretty much all week, with the exception of yesterday. Now, actually, no, during this time yesterday, it was also they were also on this type of energy. So there we go with the PR high. price is slowing down there. Starting to get some new participation here. And I'm just looking at this volume as areas of interest for other investors or other traders. It's interesting. That sparked another thought of how we use the terms between traders and investors when traders are actually investors also. But what do I know, you know? The way we use words. The way we use words. All right, so we did get a significant, response there back to PR50, back to our algo. And I don't know how I'm gonna edit this up for the actual posting to YouTube. But there are some terms that you may hear me use, everyone that's listening to this, in hindsight. One of those terms, of course, is PR, which is power range. Another one of those terms is algo. Of course, that's short for algorithm. Now to explain the algorithm, that's just some stuff, some indicators that I've identified that are used to what to me seems to be an algorithm, used for an algorithm, in my personal opinion, right? And then the other term, I mentioned this one earlier, was rebalance. So these are three terms that I use that may not be, very familiar to you if you're just tapping in. Really, I haven't used these terms that much in the public until just now. These are actually new terms for me that I've come into, that I started using within the last couple of months. Probably in 2022 is when I started using algo. I started identifying what I'm looking at now as an algorithm in 2022 for sure. And definitely rebalance is a new term now. Power range, PR, you can just look at my YouTube history and see that I've been on the power range side of the game. And if you're curious about that, maybe I'll go ahead and link that in this video somewhere, of the videos where I talk about the power range. And I keep it simple. I haven't changed it really since I started using it. So if you look at one of those older videos, they're old, but they still are relevant. So now we just got a little bit of range bound activity here between PR50 and the PR low. This is, quick identifiers. If I wanted to call it a price, 874 and 900 plus, because we're breaking outside of that. So we getting some buying stepping in here. Back to our previous session high, our overnight high. The session high is actually around 980. Which I wouldn't be surprised to see some selling at 947. So now I'm gonna just keep my hands on my lap, figuratively speaking, and let's see what we do here, because I am hands off inside of the power zone, or inside of the neutral zone. And let me lean away from the mic so I can take me a sip of my tea. Something I try to keep in mind of, because this is not an AMSR channel, so I am not trying to give you that effect. All right, so let's see if we get sell participation up here at PR +1. We got a little momentum taking us to the overnight high, and we are starting to see some participation, some sell participation up there, but we are pushing through it. And I'm just popcornizing this. I'm not trying to be a participant. If I wanted to go long there, that would be a trigger, just based off of the strategy. Actually, no, it wouldn't. It wouldn't be. This would be a signal to go long. Just using the PR ranges on a very simple price action basis, and then that would actually be the trigger. Let's see if price goes to PR plus 2. Remember, keeping in mind, we can see it right there in the volume profile that our session high as of right now is 980. So our target that we would be looking at is actually 987. But let's see what happens. There's a retest. So this is going to confirm we're going to actually, the way that I'm looking at this, the way that I use the power range, that's just the way I use it. You can use it however you want to use it. If you want to use it, it's not necessary by any means, but that's a retest to confirm if we're going to actually reverse inside of our bull zone, because overnight we spent most of our time inside of the bear zone. So we have retested successfully PR plus 1, which officially initiates us the trading inside of the bull zone. We did hit that target that I did mention earlier, and so now we could be looking for loans if I want to keep going here. We're at 10 o'clock. I am on the time restriction today, so how this is trading, we'll see if I want to participate or not. Or I may just keep calling it out. I'm actually good with settling out today, but we shall see it. We'll see. It depends on what happens from here. So we got two things that I'll be looking for here. I'll be looking for one, the continuation above 990. All right, let's go back and retest that. You already retested the previous session high. I'm also looking to see if we go back into our algo and retest the overnight high, which is my little dark blue highlight there. I really like this music that I'm hearing right now. I really hate that y'all can't hear this. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give them a shout out. Let's give them a shout out. This is some lo-fi music if you're into lo-fi. Some lo-fi hip-hop. Lo-fi hip-hop radio 24-7. This video in particular is labeled Planet Astronaut Lost in Space. Squiggly line lo-fi hip-hop radio 24/7. Beats to relax study to. Brought to you by the channel Tony's Relaxation. That's Tony's Relaxation. That's a free shout out to Tony's Relaxation. Appreciate the music. And while I was doing that, we did trade back to PR plus 1. So even if I wanted to be inside of a position right now, I missed it. And that's how easy it is for me to get distracted. And I do get distracted a lot. I'm just got to be real with myself. One of the most important things while I'm on that topic is being real with yourself. Which, if I really want to get into this could go into a whole rant about how people teach how to trade on the internet as telling people what they should and should not be doing. And it looks like we're setting up for something else here, but since I want to rant also, we'll see if I want to keep this, if I want to maintain this energy that I have right now. But since I'm, since I'm in the mood to go in on this, and I do want to trade at the same time, I'm just going to switch to sim mode so I can do both. So the way that people teach, I'm going in. The way that people teach are not even just teaching. Hold on, all right, we can go one long there. All right, let me go ahead and set that up. So teaching and giving advice, and by giving advice, I mean like doing podcasts. So when you get people on podcasts and different types of interviews and stuff like that, a lot of what people like to say, and I'm not going to overuse the guru term because a lot of people like to say guru, but people who are in a position of influence in this industry to where they will have people, other newer traders or less experienced traders, just traders in general, looking up to them. A lot of times, the way that they project is in a way that says, or that identifies the right way versus the wrong way of trading. And I wanna make sure I express this correctly, because I don't want to actually, I want to practice what I preach here. The way that the only right way and the wrong way to trade can be identified by the individual trader. Now, when you listen, let me keep it from the influencer perspective. And I got to slow walk into this because I'm trying to trade and do these things at the same time, even though I'm in sim in one of these and not both. I just realized I didn't go to sim in one of them, so it's all good. That one I'm not worried about. The one I didn't go into sim, I'm not too worried about that one. But so if it gets crazy here, which it looks like that's what we want to do. But anyway, so let me see how I want to say this. And we'll see if because I know I'm doing this very poorly because I'm trying to say this and I'm trying to trade at the same time. So this is not coming out that good. I'm just gonna be just being real with myself. It's not coming out the way that I would like it to. But anyway, a lot of people project how they personally feel about the market and about trading as, in absolute terms, and as like the right way and the wrong way to trade. And really, that should be identified individually by the trader. Only the individual trader will know what's right and what's wrong from them. So, as someone that's being looked at as an influencer, a responsible influencer should try to serve as a mirror for the least experienced or the less experienced trader, right? And I'm trying to, there we go. All right, so so let me go to sim in this other one, and then I can really go in. All right, cool. So we did that happened. All right, we're good. Now I wish I would have traded that in my regular account, but it is what it is. All right, so. And let me go ahead and reset. Okay, so let me say this. Let me start over. A lot of influencers in this space, in this industry, they project from what they personally believe to the market, to other traders. They project what they personally believe as absolutes. And so let me give an example. So saying, let's say for example, saying something to the effect of, in order to be a good trader, you have to risk less than you actually stand to win. So meaning, if you set in a trade up, your stop loss should be less than what you're trying to target, right? So as what's supposed to be a good risk to reward ratio, let's say it's a 3-to-1, you're risking 1 to make 3. Okay, so a lot of traders project that. However, that's not always the case. There are a lot of successful traders who scalp to where their risk to reward is actually going to be the inverse of that. So when you're listening to successful traders, you have to understand that they're projecting what they personally believe, and because they personally believe it, to them it's a fact, and it's the way to do it. It's the way to do it because it's their way to do it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right way for you to do it. You can take their advice, and so the way that I would recommend to approach that is to take their advice, try it out, see if it works for you, but always maintain that internal, perspective. You gotta be real with yourself, and that's what triggered all this, being real and being honest with yourself. When I was talking about how easily I get distracted, is you have to be honest with yourself. When you're in a position are you getting nervous when you're taking a trade, when you place that, that buy or sell button? And then if you're getting those feelings, you have to identify, you have to, really dig deep and look into, why am I getting emotional about this trade right now? And it's not that the emotions are bad. You're a human. You're supposed to have emotions. That's what humans do. We get emotional. That's part of being human. Just for this example here. But you got to identify, why are you getting emotional? And a lot of times it can have things to do, well, most of the times it has, I don't like to say all the time, but I would say a majority of the time it has to do with things outside of trading. Like your relationship with money, your relationship with risk, your relationship with how other people, judge you. Trading, in a nutshell, if I had to summarize this, is a 100% personal journey. It's something that you have to identify the right way and the right things to do and the wrong things to do, with a lot of introspection and just being honest with yourself. And if you be honest with yourself and you do it the right way, the quote unquote right way, by just being honest with yourself and actually doing the work to figure out what works best for you and not what worked best for this other trader that made $1 million last year. That's how they made $1 million. Now, does that mean that you can tag along with them and make some money in the process? Sure, you can do that. But I honestly believe, in order to find your best way of participating in this business, is to do it from within, right? So I don't know how much sense that made. I tried it. It's actually a very, it's actually a loaded topic that has a lot of, a lot of tentacles, so to speak. It actually deserves its own video, and maybe I'll try to put something structured together where it can actually make a little bit more sense than that quick little rant that I did there. But just understand that my whole point is, the whole point of saying all of that is that is the factor that you need to be honest with yourself. No matter if you're trying to create your own strategy or if you're trying to trade someone else's strategy. Which that points me, so this is what I'm saying, there's so many lanes that I can go down on this topic right here. Because when we're talking about the people that like the scam police all over the internet, that like to call everything a scam because it didn't work for them. There's a lot of ways that we can talk about that, but 9 times out of 10, most things are not scams that are being called scams. It's just that the person that's calling it a scam was not being honest with themselves. And for example, you're following somebody in an environment that you have no experience in. So if I just started trading today, or if I'm, let's call it Rob number 2. Rob number 2 starts trading today and see MV3 trader trading and says, oh, I like their strategy. I see that they made money. Not even I like their strategy. I see that they made money. Let me copy what they do. And then Rob number 2 ends up losing money because they just started trading yesterday. Not the fact that MV3 traders' strategy was good or bad. Really, MV3 trader strategy is MV3 trader strategy. It's not Rob number 2 strategy. But because of that, and because Rob number 2 has no experience at all, other than maybe watching a couple YouTube videos and maybe reading an article or two or a book or two, Rob number 2 was not ready for this environment, so Rob number 2 lost money. But 9 times out of 10, what happens? Rob number 2 will say, oh no, trading is a scam. It doesn't really work. You can't trade in the long term. You can't trade successfully in the long term. Rob number 2 will say, oh, MV3 trade is a scam. Rob number 2, will find, because Rob number 2 is not being honest with himself, they're going to try to find all kind of reasons outside of, well, I wasn't prepared for this environment, and I stepped into something that I had no real knowledge of, and that's why I lost money. not because I followed this person's strategy. Now, maybe that strategy actually really does suck, but you can't really make that judgment if you don't really understand the environment in which that strategy is being used. So anyway, I'm gonna end my little rant there, and I think that's gonna end this little narration that I'm doing for Futures Radio today in terms of how I'm gonna post this on YouTube. I hope that someone found that helpful, but I digress. And I hope I had the mic on. Let me check. Oh yeah, okay. All right, we good. Sometimes I be forgetting to turn the mic on, and I just realized that I done messed up my there we go. Messed up my I don't know how that happened. I think that happened from my trade copier. So while I was doing that, wholesale did decide to find a range between the PR high and PR plus 2. They wanna hover PR plus 1 today, which can be frustrating for MV3 trader. But we have identified wholesale, and they have shown their hands. They went and got as much buyers as they could out of that. You gotta also understand that there's been a lot of selling lately, so some of that bullish activity or that long activity is profit taking. Some of that in there is taking profit. It's not all buyers trying to go long. Now, understanding that we also did have some 30% action last night, meaning from our all-time highs, we did find new participation. We did see a strong buy response off of 30% from the all-time high of NQ. So, there should be a lot of buy the dippers here. There should be a lot of buy the dippers here. Because 30% is something that a lot of people that I've heard a lot of investors point out as a significant area to look for a true bear market on the recession side of the game. There's a lot of people out there already identifying this economy as being in a recession already, and looking at gas prices, they're making a good case for it, for sure. Them gas prices are ridiculous. I don't know about where you live, but gas prices are retarded. I'm not even gonna get into that topic right there. But these gas prices are wild. But anyway, I digress.